concerns about President Trump's cabinet picks so far, and what advice will you give him when it comes to choosing nominees who will pass Senate confirmation?
Well, as you know, the Senate has a advise and consent role under the Constitution, so we will do everything we can to process his noms quickly, get them installed in their position so they can begin to implement his agenda.
It's pretty much all been very encouraging as Trump has made his picks, and senators seem to be supporting it. Ron Johnson is our favorite senator from Wisconsin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Good. I didn't mean you're our favorite senator from Wisconsin. You are our favorite senator, comma, and happen to be from Wisconsin. Our favorite of all 100, not just of the 2. I just want to be clear with how I worded that awkwardly. Tell us who you're most excited about right now with his picks.
Well, from my standpoint, is Bobby Kennedy. I think what he did, it was not easy decision for him to make to suspend his presidential campaign. I mean, he put his heart and soul into that thing. Garnered a lot of attention on the conservative podcasts, not much from the legacy media, but he's primarily focusing on his, agenda, the thing that he has, been fighting for now for decades, not only the environment, but primarily how do you make America healthy again? And the fact that he suspended his campaign and then joined forces with President Trump, I give both men a great deal of credit. That demonstrates to America how you set aside differences, focus on areas of agreement. In this case, how do we tackle chronic illnesses? But in so doing, also demonstrating to Americans how do you heal and unify a very divided country. It's really opened up Trump to broadening the coalition. And that's gotten noticed by people. And it's an incredibly important issue and one that I think the American people are embracing.
That's great. Let's use him as the example for the confirmation process. So what does this Senate confirmation process look like?
Well, again, there's a very strong bias, and I think this is true of all Republican senators, that elections matter, and that the president is the one who decides who he wants serving in his administration. So barring some disqualifying revelation that generally results in the nominee being pulled back, not even completing the confirmation process, my guess is that any nominee that gets through the confirmation hearings and gets a vote on the floor of the Senate, I think should be confirmed.
Last time, RFK Jr., I think last time, he did a hearing. It was in the House. And the first 10 minutes were Debbie Wasserman Schultz calling for him to be kicked out of the hearing because he said some whatever, right? So it's like this whole ridiculous show. Do you expect there to be a lot of these shows put on during the process?
I hope not. I think you'll probably see more organized opposition to Bobby's nomination than to any others. He threatens the status quo. And by the status quo, I mean the corporate capture of all these agencies and the corruption of them, where these agencies are no longer working on behalf of the American public, but on behalf of the very corporate interests that they are supposed to be regulating to the detriment of consumers, to the American public, and to their competitors. So that's an apple cart that powerful interests do not want to be upset. But the beauty here is the public supports the nomination. The public strongly supports the nomination. As I have done my unofficial whip count talking to both Republican and Democrat senators, the conversation is very interesting, go pretty much the same way. Well, I love a lot of what Bobby's pushing for, and they have individual concerns across about 4 or 5 categories, which I believe, knowing what Bobby's response will be, will alleviate those concerns. So I'm pretty optimistic about his chances for confirmation.
Okay, you brought up his name first, so let's keep going with his name as an example for all these bigger questions. I'm very excited about what's to come. I'm very encouraged, enthused, etc. But let's say everyone likes RFK Jr., right? And maybe he gets it. Maybe he gets the confirmation, and now he's the guy. And he says, hey, we're going to ban fluoride. Okay? Big Fluoride happens to have a processing plant in Wisconsin. Now, I shouldn't use you as an example because you would never do this, but the big fluoride starts lobbying all the senators, and the whole thing stops, right? The whole Trump train we got going, all this big movement, all this excitement is done because lobbyists are so powerful. Why is it different now than in the past, do you think? Or is it?
First of all, I don't think that's the way it would occur. I think Bobby's first task is to restore integrity to scientific research, which has been corrupted. I mean, Eisenhower warned us about this in his farewell address, that if you have government funding research, you will corrupt it. You will end up with a scientific and technological elite that'll drive policy. That's what Fauci did to disastrous results during COVID. And so we need to restore integrity to science, and then science will prove what our actions should be that need to be taken. So I don't see, Bobby might have his opinion of fluoride or glyphosate or whatever, but I think the first step would be, okay, let's get the science. Let's face it, virtually every drug that can cure a disease, if given in larger quantities, can be toxic to the body. That's true of chemicals in general. So you have to determine, okay, what's the proper dose for a pharmaceutical product to work? What's the proper amount of herbicide or pesticide that dissipates and causes no harm versus what's the concentration that could actually create harm? Those aren't easy questions to answer, but you have to be allowed to ask them. And in my event that we held the end of September with Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Casey and Casey Means and her brother Callie and all these nutritional experts, I think probably the most insightful piece of testimony snippet came from Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a psychiatrist looking at nutrition's impact on mental health. He said they don't want to discover the root cause of these problems. They don't want to discover the root cause of this explosion in autism and in other chronic illnesses. And I think that's generally true, because those of us who ask the questions, they're legitimate questions. The American people want to know the answer. We just get destroyed. We get vilified because, again, these are powerful interests, and upsetting that apple cart could literally cost businesses millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. And I understand their concern. Totally. This is why we want to get it right. I'm not jumping to any conclusions. Yeah. We need to first get the science right. We need to restore integrity to the scientific process. And again, if you're the government, you're paying for research, you're going to get the result the government wants. If you're a corporate interest, a pharmaceutical company, big ag, big food processing, you pay for the science, you get the result you want. That's called corrupt science. Yeah,
that's been that way for a long time. But these are existential apple carts for all these companies that are going to be disrupted profoundly. We got about 1 minute. Let me ask you this question, and I want to pivot it to the border. Go ahead.
Just real quick, it is. But again, when you do have chronic illness at the levels it is today, when you have autism, 1 out of 36 children now have autism. 24 years ago, it was 1 out of 150. And to the extent they changed definition, it was to tighten it up so there'd be less cases reported. So listen, these are issues that have to be explored. We have to be able to ask the questions and get the answers.
On this issue or so many other issues, let's just take the border as well, deportations, et cetera. Do you believe that senators have the mettle to weather through what's going to happen over the next 2 years and the outrage from the media and the left, et cetera, et cetera? Do your colleagues have what it takes to persevere?
I think so, because this was a convincing election victory by President Trump, not only the Electoral College, but also the popular vote. And again, on specific issues like securing the border, like securing, making America healthy again. And here's what's different. Elon Musk bought Twitter. He saved free speech in America. Not only was Kamala Harris defeated, the legacy and corporate media were defeated in this election. Mm-hmm. And so now we're, in addition to doing the right thing, the thing that we were elected to do, having support of a plurality of Americans, we're actually going to have media outlets like X that will tell the truth about what we're doing, as opposed to just lambasting us and basically spreading misinformation, what we're trying to accomplish.
The great Ron Johnson, Senator from Wisconsin. Thank you, sir. Keep up the great work.
Have a great day.
I'm excited about what's to come. I'm excited about these cabinet picks. I honestly thought a couple of these guests maybe would throw a little cold water on it, and that'd be great. I'd want to live in reality too, but I just got even more excited. This is a time to blitz through all of the institutions. The left is still spinning around. They're in total free fall. They have no idea what to do next. And this is the time to make it all happen. This is the time to make America great again. We did our job on November 5th, and now it's time for Trump and all of his men to get the job done. Let's do this. Let's go. Mike Slater, The First TV. Spread the word.